Now, what I was saying is that all the projects that we are aiming for, whether it's a business project, whether it's a NGO, whether it's a helping project for the world,
Mm-hmm.
by the end of the day, we have to come to the conclusion that it's just medicine for our own very personal path, because we cannot do anything for the rest of the world. That's an illusion. We can only work on our on 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 the betterment. And what is the betterment here? That doesn't mean to get better. The betterment here is only that I'm in a space now that I don't see my perfection. I don't see that I am God itself in expression. I
Mm.
don't see it yet. And hence this betterment is the only betterment that we can do, is to see it also in the 3D. And the 3D is the hardest environment that you can imagine, because it's tense. It's tense. And in this density, we have gotten at the human being, not we have the human being has five senses. And so what the human being mixes up, that it perceives its beingness only with these five senses. It perceives it with smell, with seeing, with hearing, with touching, and perceives this as the reality, when actually this reality is only there to be observed, and come to the awareness that there is nothing really to do. And so we are striving constantly through our life, whether it's the tough banker in New York, or the flower power hippie in whatever Portugal, who wants to have a land and grow his own plants, and help people to and create a center and do all these things. It's the same journey. There is nothing different. You cannot do anything for the outside. The journey, the difference is only that let's say the tough businessman banker in New York needs that way, and might not even be allowed to make that realization in that from his soul imprint, blueprint in this lifetime to come to that realization. But
Mm-hmm.
however, it's the medicine that this creature needs in order to to gather all these experiences to come to a point. Young souls need to gather more experiences. Young soul aggregates need to gather more experiences through a lifetime, that let's say rather old soul aggregates who have had many different manifestations in different dimensions, uh, they can live with less experiences. And so we are striving out there. um, I touched the topic last time a little bit when I was talking about mushrooms and iboga and ayahuasca. This is nothing else than searching for another experience that eventually will absolutely not bring me 1 millimeter closer to my spiritual self. Not 1 millimeter. It's a complete illusion. I might see the universe. I don't doubt that. I might see illuminated spheres. I might get some insights. But at the end of the day, it doesn't bring me to that betterment, to that awareness that I am already that what I am. I am perfect. I came here perfect. And since I'm 4 years old, the whole environment around me and myself is trying, and I'm talking about, when I say myself, I mean everyone as a human being, is trying to make myself change for what I am, right? Trying, you have to go to school, you have to go to kindergarten, you have to do apprenticeship, you have to study, you have to go to university constantly in order to become something. But what
Mm-hmm.
do you want to become as a divine being itself?
Mm-hmm.
You see? So you can only become one thing, is the pure awareness to understand that already everything was perfect in the first place, and that what you were seeking for 50, 60, 70 years of a lifespan was already there from the very first place. You just didn't see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And or you didn't penetrate, let's say, through this illusionary, how do you call, in a theater you have different layers of walls on the stage, right? And you were not allowed to penetrate through that. I mean, these layers stay for a let's say a metaphoric of what your parents do to you, your environment does to you. You know, they give you layers, and you were not powerful enough yet in this lifetime to penetrate through them. Kind of stay in a stage where you said, I don't need all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very difficult. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I felt drawn to the sharing now because I feel you, I know what's going on. And I see very many young, enthusiastic people who are working towards a project. I see them sitting in their basement. You understand what I mean? You understand? Instead of being happy and satisfied by what this project is bringing, there is always a backdraw where people are on their shadow side. So that means eventually that what I'm doing here is not that there is another truth to it. It's not completely fulfilling what my soul really needs, you see. And I don't want to nor judge nor tell anyone what to do. I just can say I'm very fortunate in my life that I had some ancestors visiting me in dreams when I was already 4 years old, 5 years old, 6, 7 years old for many, many years. And I had to take a vow that I will never drink alcohol and never take any kind of substances that would change in any way my perception. So, and I have kept to this my entire life. So, hence, I am an advocate of not taking any kind of substance into your body that would change your perception. Because again, we are, you know, there is nothing more perfect than the human mind that carries that human spirit, you know, and the body inside the soul, not the soul inside the body. It's the other way around. And to try to improve that through a plant medicine is bringing the vibration much lower, now much lower, because anything that exists in the 3D, anything has basically a low vibrational field than the human soul aggregate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, hey, let's entertain ourselves, let's go into movies, you know. And this movies is a weekend with ayahuasca, for example, and then we get all kind of information, but the brain cannot really understand what to do with the mind. And oh wow, we had a great and I asked so many people. Just a young guy in Portugal I met summer, I met him, and I said, where are you heading? He was very fast, and I said, yeah, I have to go to a ayahuasca ceremony for 2 days. Okay, a week later, I met him again and said, so how was it? Oh, yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, but tell me what, you know. Yeah, it was good. I was vomiting a lot, and I felt a relief, and yeah, it was really great. It was amazing. But tell me, what is the amazing thing? Ah, yeah, sorry, I have to go now. So it's it's searching for experiences, you know. It's a search for experiences when the only experience is already there.
Yeah, I do have a question regarding this. Um, when I was contemplating on what you shared, I um, I had this curiosity coming up regarding the wisdom keepers that you're in touch with.
Mhm.
So the Blackfoot and I don't know what's the name of the other tribes and wisdom keepers that
Yeah,
you're in
yeah, like
contact with.
the
To what extent
Arawaka.
are they using plant medicine
Not
and
at
also in
all. Not
regard
at all.
to the visions they receive? Not at all.
Not at all. So let's say in the Northern American, generically speaking, in the Northern American tribes, and I'm talking about the tribes of the North America, meaning when you see the United States and Canada, there are tribes in Arizona and like the Dene and the Shoshone on the South California and Texas, which are most towards Mexico. These are using peyote. But talking about the plain tribes, the biggest one, Lakota, Dakota, Nakota, the Cree in Canada, very, very big tribe construction, you know, very big nation. Don't let's call them tribes. The Blackfeet, very big nation. The Cherokee, very big nation. And the Woodland Indians, the Iroquois, very big nation. So these 5 nations who cover practically 85% of whole North American, Native American territory, absolutely no mushroom, no plant medicine, nothing whatsoever. They are doing Sundance, they are doing Sweat Lodge, Vision Quest. So the classical, actually, if you would even say religious Christian ways of when the Christians obviously have taken it from these kind of things, meaning through fasting. Because I can tell you, I've just finished yesterday a 3-day water fast, which I do one time a week. I don't eat for 2 days, and then one time a month for 3 days. And yesterday I had my 3 days, and 3 days is not very much. But I can tell you that if you then also don't drink for 4 days, let's say, and don't eat for 4 days, then you start to come to a core of an awareness that you can come close to see who you are. And that's the biggest thing. People cannot see who they are, and they try through plant medicine to come closer to that God gene, God essence, what people call in metaphysics, you know. But the best way is fasting. The best way is sweating. The best way is giving something, meaning offering something of the human mind, giving a donation of something that is stuck in the human mind. And that's what you do in a Sundance, meaning in a Sundance, what do you offer there? You offer the belief that you cannot do it. You cannot go through a Sundance. It's impossible. They pierce you, and it's hot, and you cannot do it. But you do it. And that's not a stupid torture. It's just something that you offer, an illusionary belief system that there is something that you cannot do. And after you have done it, here comes now the big awakening. The big awakening that I did it. And the fact that I could not do such a big thing was just an illusion. And then you unravel one illusion after the next illusion, and one thought pattern after the next one. Sacred ceremonies, for example, of the Lakota. It's just an example, and it's just a small part of the world. And look what Shaolin monks do to become really themselves. I mean, they are always themselves, but their mind cannot see it. See? So yeah, it's yeah. So let's say this whole idea of drugs is, generically speaking, around the world. You could put it in 2 sections, not completely precisely, but the southern hemisphere is more on drugs than the northern hemisphere in terms of native population, in terms of First Nation people. Because even if you look to Siberia, I've lived amongst the Siberians and been there many times with the shamans. They don't take anything. They don't eat mushrooms or something like this. They drum, for example. They dance as well. They have a so-called spring dance where they dance 3 days and 3 nights. And if you look into South America, if you look into Africa, there it's more common. If you look into Southeast Asia, they put things into the nose. It's more common. One of the eldest let's say ancestors of the Lemurians, the Australian First Nation people, and for example the Bushmen in Africa.
The Aboriginals, I think you mean?
The Aboriginals, I mean,
yeah.
exactly. And the Bushmen in South Africa, where their DNA is traced back for 100,000 years, they don't take anything completely. So the Bushmen they are riding dream tracks. They are doing everything in dream time. So this is what I call amongst the native people cultural distortion. I know it's a hard judgment, but I do it because I'm standing really very firm behind it. There has been at one certain stage a cultural distortion amongst the tribes in South America and in Africa, where they all of a sudden were drawn through I don't know what kind of influence to take drugs. Because if you look at the very, very old native nations, as I just said, the Bushmen, the Aborigines, they are much older than all these cultures in South America and Africa. They don't take anything like this.
Mm.
Also, the North Americans. So, and I don't want to say, right or wrong, good or bad. I come from a philosophy and understanding of non-duality, and if I look on the things from a non-duality perspective, it's a mere illusion that if I take something of a plant and that plant makes my perception change, that something would eventually change or become to a betterment of this declared being bear that walks the earth at the moment. I would not see where and how could that be explained under a non-dualistic perspective. So, yeah.
I love all you're sharing. I can receive it.
We are
With a lot
going
of
to start next
curiosity.
week. We are going to start next week with a series of podcasts. There is a few that I will do. We are recording them in a studio in Haarlem. There is a series that I will do, and then I'll already start with two already the week after that, where I am host or co-host, and we are having guests like people from the Blackfeet, one very dear uh, priestess from Singapore will do a sharing on the 26th. We are going to record this one. And I have my mentor and grandmaster, the Bindu grandmaster, that is doing a sharing as well by the end of February on a podcast. We're going to stream it maybe some weeks later or a week later, but we are positive by the beginning of March, there should be out the first sharings in that line. And one big topic that runs through that whole sharings amongst all the people that will show up in this podcast, the podcasts are called The Voices of the One Mind, is one of the red lines. There is a few red threads, but one of them is breaking the illusion of the new age.
Mm.
And that's not a name, breaking the illusion of the new age.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I tell you as a working title. There is so much illusion in this new age, and new age is not something of the last 10, 5 or 20 years. The whole new age movement is, you can trace it back a few hundred years. It has become always wilder, and let's put it that way, but there is a new age distortion in many, many native tribes around the world, you know, and the sources that I'm referring this to are old Toltequitat wisdom from Mexico, which are elders who have never taught any people outside the jungle. They have never had ceremonies. They don't go on a podcast. They don't travel. Um, but it's the very oldest line, for example, of the Toltequitat, and things, that I have to come to know on all my journeys, and I have always cross proved them in a sense of when the Toltequitat elders in Mexico told me something, and a year later I was in Siberia. I was speaking to the elders of the Shaman's Rock on, for example, Lake Baikal there, and I said, in Mexico, they told me this, what do you say? And 99% of the time, all around the world, the people were just smiling at me and say, of course it's like this. We always knew it all along. And that refers to taking drugs. That refers to what the moon is and does, for example, which is probably the biggest new age distortion. And all these kind of things. that is referred to the Gregorian calendar and so on. And these people don't come from conspiracy theories or Facebook or truthers and all these things. This is passed down knowledge that has fortunately not run through some cultural distortions.
I'm somehow slightly touched with these last words of you. I guess I guess this feeling of connecting with a deeper wisdom that has been around for millennia, for a long time. And like you say, it's not distorted by the modern culture. When I hear you say that, I can feel like how our culture is so influenced by all kinds of noise and distractions and like that. And what you're talking about is like this deeper knowing.
But not just ours, let's say ours when you refer to European culture around the world, right? Which includes the American, Australians, whatever. Modern society, not just that, because that is actually obvious. We kind of know all this, that we have come away from our roots, and it's everything is about consumption and surfacial and IT and technology and all these influences. What triggered me so much was when I was in my beginning 20s and I started to realize that there is the Mayans, there is the South American tribes from Peru. I see shamans and I hear shamans talking, and African tribes and whatever, and they have a cultural distortion that is going on for 500 years, for 1,000 years. You
Mm-hmm.
see? And then the let's say the problem or the issue of the European who is so far away is even bigger, because then the South American shamans from Peru and from Mexico come to Europe and start all kind of teachings with peyote and putting something into your nose and doing this and that, and the Europeans go like, oh wow, they are real shamans, so let's go there, they will tell us something.
Mm-hmm.
And the shamans, because I don't want to judge or blame anyone. I'm not saying they come with the purpose of misleading Europeans. No, the Europeans, they come with the purpose to help people in Europe, because their parents or their shaman already in their line has told them this is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. So how do you find truth through all of that?
You don't find truth in the outside. You don't find truth in words by someone speaking.
Mm-hmm.
You can only have one sensor. You need to sharpen your intuition, and when somebody speaks, you need to be in a position to say yes or no.
Yeah.
This is wisdom shared. This is truth shared. This is this is this is this is this is let's put it in a light way, and this is not resonating with me,
Mm-hmm.
without saying this is a lie. You understand? This is not resonating with me.
Mm-hmm.
No such thing as a lie. It's only different perception. What
Mm-hmm.
happens if you are a little bit into numerology, that sometimes pops in. If somebody speaks truth, for example, all of a sudden you see like a sacred number popping up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of a sudden you see somebody saying something to you and it's 1333, just an example,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you speak something to someone in the car, and you look outside the car while you're driving on the highway, and you see a license plate in front of you that is 999.
Mm-hmm.
You see, or a totem animal is exactly crossing your way while you speak this.
Mm-hmm.
That can be confirmations that the truth is spoken.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but they are still external. They are
Mm-hmm.
still external. And it's about, through meditation and through quietness, to calm the mind so much down that the human body um, unveils all its capacity of being this membrane to being able to receive everything and filter everything perfectly. And having this very important thing which is called discernment. And that 90% of the people have lost nowadays. They don't have discernment, you know. They hear something and they jump on that. They hear and because their sight is blinded in whatever way. It can be on a spiritual way, it can be on a consumption way, on a society way. You know, for example, very simple ads of a product that you should buy. If you lack discernment, you don't really know anymore that you really need it. No, you're reacting from kind of a primitive impulse, but you don't need that really. And the same is for an ayahuasca ceremony. The same is for whatever. You don't need that really, but you are reacting from a spiritual impulse. And thus, we are constantly misleading, and this misleading does one thing. It creates an imprint in us that this path of misleading gets always wider. It gets always more walked off. So meaning, metaphorically, you have started on off grid to walk and did a bushwhack in the beginning, but the more non-discernment you have, the more you walk on this path, and by the end you have a perfect highway there, which you very much like to walk because it's a very open highway. There is nothing in the way. You can just walk because you know what's there. You see, and hence to train the discernment is only by stillness and by meditation. By resting in this awareness, in this pure awareness, meaning just to observe things without giving it a judgment. Sit somewhere on a hill, look into a forest or look down, whatever, and try to calm the mind as far as you don't say, oh, wow, look, I see a, because that's what the mind does. Oh, that's a forest, that's a green tree. Oh, there is a bird flying, and that's this. So there's the blue sky, or there's a car driving down there. That's what the mind does constantly when you observe something. Bring oneself into a state where this is not happening anymore, where you just can see the rawness of it without giving the car the name car, without giving the color blue. Then we come slowly back to the original state of being, the non-informed absolute awareness, as we call, you know, the absolute awareness.
We're going quite deep
It's so
here again.
interesting. I wanted to ask a complete different question, the beginning, a very practical thing.
Great.
And that's so fantastic how, you know, the flow of it, just the flow goes, like the flow of water. You expect the water run down there, but all of a sudden there is something and the water decides to take a right turn or a left turn, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you want to switch to your more practical question, or I was about to kind
No,
of check
if
in
you
with
have,
you. Do you have a
I
certain intention for this call
I
today?
yes, but here again, intention is the mind. You know, intention is the mind and the unfolding is the universe. You see, there's two different things between an intention and an unfolding. The intention is this is what I want to do. And who is speaking here? Who has the intention? The intention that never, the observer doesn't have any intention, meaning your higher self. There is no intention to the observer other than being. The intention is only something that the human mind can express. So the observed can only express an intention. And here we find ourselves again trapped in the idea, oh, we had an intention, we are not following this intention. That creates kind of, let's say, I wouldn't say a discomfortability, but it creates some kind of, oh, I had a different intention, but now it's coming like this. What do I do? Should I move it back? Should I just go? Comes up these questions. However, I want to ask you that question absolutely before we down. Now, my question is, do you have more questions in that line? If not, then we can also stop recording and switch to.
Nothing specific. I just really enjoy these kind of sidetracks. I find it really interesting to listen to. And I also don't have any specific intentions today. I was tuning in with myself and I was like, no specific intentions. I just enjoy connecting with you, and I like how um yeah, how this exchange is nourishing in a way. And that's for me enough in itself. And I trust that there is a higher guidance for why we are connecting. And
Grateful,
I'm
very grateful.
curiously uh, observing its unfoldment.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I also learn every day and I also have my intentions. And I go in many of these calls, and the intention is sometimes a very practical intention of, again, some project or whatever. And we are then ending up on more personal, spiritual stuff, and the learning here is that actually we are using these other things, and that opens again that bigger picture that I was speaking in the beginning. We are using these projects, we are using this in order to connect, in order to in order like a door opener, that because maybe otherwise we would not dare to reach out to each other and say, hey, I would like to know your for example, you seem to be a wise man, I have that question. And so we subliminally, of course, not consciously, right? This There's some projects, and then we get to know each other, we get more confidence, and then we start to talk on that level.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need that surface, obviously. We need that stage uh, that we show each other. And when we are over that, we can kind of go to I mean, I don't want to call it real stuff because there is not such a thing like real or unreal things. Everything is what I learned. I like this expression and I repeat it all the time when I was in Mongolia. Mongolia is a country like Montana where the Blackfeet are. Montana has the slogan, Big Sky Country, because there is some phenomena which can hardly be explained. Wherever you are in Montana, you have the expression you see more sky than in any other place of the world. It's just like it seems wherever you stand, it seems to be like endless.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you stand on a valley or up the mountain, there is not much difference. And the same is in Mongolia. The sky, and they call themselves the sky on earth. Mongolia is the old name of Mongolia. I don't know how to speak it, but it means the heaven on earth, the sky on earth.
Mm.
And the Mongolians say, the shamans of the Mongolians always say, everything that happens within or under that blue sky.
Mm.
Meaning we can start to judge there is evil, there is bad, there is this, there is that. And the blue sky stands for the one mind, stands for the absolute reality, stands for the creation itself, the universe of the universes. And everything happens underneath that. So it can't be evil at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it must be love. There is no other way. And I could
I
talk
like
5 hours. I could talk 5 hours to explain why a war between the US and Russia that is fought out in Ukraine at the moment starts all with love. But we would need to go back very far. You see? Very, very far. I mean, not far in history, not in that sense in history, but we would need to uncover very deep layers. Why every expression that human people do, even rape, even murder, the original energy for that is love. And that's on a soulic level, huh? Way deeper, not on the human expression in this very moment. And the question is, where does the love come from? The love is not coming from the person who rapes the little child, the man who rapes the child. the unconditional, the KDIUCL, cosmic divine infinite unconditional compassionate love is offered from the soul that is giving itself in the 3D to let that happen, in order to show that other soul what true love and compassion is. And that goes far beyond the 3D understanding, where people say, "Oh my God, that's tragic. This people is psychologically wounded for the whole life. Is bleeding, is hurting, is dying." But on the realms, on the much higher realms, this has no meaning. It's just a little theatrical. We have to see that this whole earth is like a classroom. It's just a stage. It's a stage where we play out things on a soulic level that, from the lords of karma, need to be in a way played out on that stage. That's why this stage is even created in the first place. The lowest and high density stage is the 3D. And you need to go into this boxing ring of the 3D in order to play out everything that is written into Akashic records and need to be cleared on a karmic level. To flow in that only one expression that the Godhead gave, that the one mind gave as the only expression, was the sound Om. And from this sound Om, there started a vibration. And this first sound Om was in a frequency of the KDIUCL, the cosmic divine infinite unconditional compassionate love. That was, the energy of it was, the only energy ever came out was expansion. So how can I expand this cosmic divine infinite unconditional compassionate love even more? And in order that these whole soul strands that are composed in a soul aggregate and then are carnating, not incarnating, carnating to this planet, to this classroom, can express and expand through it. And that's why you need all these exercises here, all of them, all. Nothing can miss. No war, no rape, no Hitler, no Third Reich, no whatever comes. Nothing can miss. No corona, no vaccinations. Nothing can miss. Everything is 100% perfection in every moment.
I like that.
In every moment. And if somebody asks me, "How are you?" my answer is always the same: I'm perfect. And then people who don't yet know me and don't understand, they write, "Oh, wow, I'm happy for you that you are perfect." That doesn't mean that I don't have a terrible headache on this day, or that one of my organs is not functioning perfectly, or that I have a very hard back pain. You see? But if I would not admit, if I would fall for the illusion that I'm not perfect, then I would give up practically, you know? If I would go like, "Oh my God, I have so much back pain and I have this and I have that," you know? Pain is perfection. Pain is perfection. And in this perfection, especially in pain, and especially through darkness, it's very important to know, only in pain and in darkness, meaning on the shadow work, on the shadow side, only then expansion can come. Because long before the light came, the sound Om, with the intention of expansion, was already there. So it came out of the darkness. And only that created light. So only when we are on our shadow side, when we are grieving, when we are sad, it's this potential that I can open to the whole universe. Only from that stage. If I'm running around like a happy clown in the sun, you tell me where is the potential of expansion? There is no potential, because what does a human being do in running around happy in the sun? Being completely distracted from a deep work, from a deep going through things, you know? But by going through this pain, this is the pure medicine. That's what the First Nation people call medicine. We Westerners understand medicine, pills that you buy in the pharmacy. But medicine, in a deeper understanding, means just getting a next step in understanding and coming closer to my true self. Why do we even say when somebody dies, he's going back home? Where does that idea come from? Going back home. Like, if there is any home. And humans then understand it as a physical home, but there is no physical home. There is no such thing as a physical home. That just means going back to oneself, to the I am, that I am. The first I am, small letters. The second I am, capital letters. Meaning, in Indian terms, you could say, Brahman is Atman. Atman is the soul, right? And Brahman is the God. Let's explain it very simple without going too deep. And Atman is the soulic expression in the 3D. But what if Brahman is Atman and Atman is Brahman? It is the I am that I am. Only I constantly do everything to run away from this knowing and from this understanding.
Yeah.
All of us. All of us.
It's like how Alan Watts talks about that this
Alan Watts
universe is God playing hide and seek with himself.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfect. I love his beautiful, simple quotes in five words. He managed to express one very big thing, and that's a perfect one. Universe is playing hide and seek with itself. So Brahman is playing hide and seek in Atman.
Exactly.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And then humans are trained in a completely false humbleness, because humble is so important, humbleness, but in a false humbleness to not admit that they are Atman, that they are Brahman in Atman. Sometimes people then say, yeah, yes, I know we are made in the image of God. Or yes, we have a God spark. No, you don't have neither a God spark nor you are made in the image of God. These are ideas to make you obey, to push you down. You see? However, and that's a very important thing, that one being that states, I am that I am, or Atman is Brahman, needs to understand it, not to understand it, not stand under it, you understand? Needs to understand what means understand, needs to live it. You cannot just say, I am that I am. When people ask me, what is enlightenment? It's very simple. If you can say, I am that I am. And then people say, yeah, but what do you mean? Everyone can say, I am that I am. No, and I don't mean you can speak it. Of course, everyone can speak it. But can you speak it? Can you speak it with KDIUCL, with cosmic, divine, infinite, unconditional love from the depth of your eternal heart? Meaning, do you understand it? And then when you really understand it, you are completely enlightened. Why? Because you are back at the stage that you came. You came fully enlightened. You just yourself dimmed down the light on the journey. And then the soulic aggregates who are coming on this planet, they make their life path what a human being would perceive as very hard. They go through all hardship, a lot of misery happening and disease happening to them, and so on and so on. And it's by their choice. And it's by the choice. And it should stay like this because it is by the choice. I have done shamanic healings from 30 to 40 years old, full transformational bear healings, and people came to me with cancer. And these healings were very intense healings. And it's a gift that one of my ancestors laid down on me when I was 7 years old, in many, many, many dreams over many, many years. And it was always important to really get to understand for the healer, is there the force to be alive? Is there the force to change something? Or is the disease really fully on purpose, and that being is so turned around and distorted that the mind doesn't know itself anymore, whether it was wished to be like this or whatever. And that was the most, and all the cases where one came to a conclusion that the person, the being made the decision, no, it's not on my choice anymore to be like this. However, my body, I have not the means to change it in the body physically. It's a 100% success on healing the hardest cases of cancer. When that was not the case, the healing took place, it was a super success. 2-3 years later, it came back again. And so I also learned, if you give help to someone, you need to evaluate very good together with this soul. What is you cannot interfere on a physical level.
You said
if
what
you
is?
don't,
You broke up for a second.
what is the journey of the soul?
Uh-huh.
You cannot interfere on a physical level if the journey of the soul has a different idea in the blueprint.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear that. I have one question coming back to what you said earlier about the humbleness. You also said it last time, and it's something that definitely stuck with me. And I also resonate with what you say about that there is this false humbleness of putting ourselves below God, or saying we're in the image of God, or something different than God. But and yeah, I noticed this a lot in religion. I've come across many people that are, so like, oh yeah, I'm just poor little me, and um, that energy. So I resonate with what you described there about that. That's the false humbleness. So I wonder, what's for you true humbleness?
What's true humbleness? I would say very practically, if I don't run around or have the need to express what I want to be,
This
because
energy of striving.
exactly, the closer I come to the understanding of I am that I am, the word humbleness is obsolete. It doesn't exist anymore, right? Because if I am that I am and I truly live it, there is nothing to express in that sense. And also there is no humbleness to express, because in the pure state of just being and being at service. So one important thing on humbleness in a practical life is, let's say, very practical, not talk much. Who am I? What have I done? What am I able to do? Another one is being at service for people. If people need you, um, for example, my mentor is on a way where he has given up free will. He has completely given up free will. It's a very high stage of Bindu masters when they give up their free will. But you know what that means? That means, making a little simple example, somebody is knocking on your door at your house and say, I need $5,000. If you have the $5,000, you need to give it to him.
It's
That's
like the
giving,
ultimate surrender to
that's free will, because
whatever's happening.
obviously, exactly, the ultimate surrender, that's giving up free will. And and um and let's say you can always more and more and more give up the free will, or discern very much your free will. Whenever that feeling comes of the mind now popping in, which is the ego at the end of the day. Oh, this person wants this from me, but I don't have time now, or I cannot do that. Or this person wanted to lend the car. No, but I don't want to give the car to this person. And if then the higher self observes it and and the mind can go with it and say, oh, let's sit back for a moment, let's breathe and reevaluate that situation. What is the why I wouldn't do that? The car is standing in my garage. It's there. I don't need it now. So what is holding me back in lending the car to this person for the next hour? It's fear. Fear that this person can destroy my car, that something can happen. What is the deeper layer of that fear? And at the end of the day, we are sitting there and we are laughing about ourselves for this reason. Because nothing can happen to us. Never. You see? Ultimately, there is absolutely nothing to fear, nothing. Death is an illusion. It's a transformation of the body. And death can only happen if we perceive the primitive life with five sentences. With five senses, sorry. Only, it's very simple. Who fears death or who fears whatever, sickness or whatever, is an expression that the beingness to be is perceived with five senses. Because if you blend out completely the five senses, you completely let go of five senses, and the five senses the human being needs. Don't get me wrong. The primitive human being on the earth needs the five senses because it's 3D again. 3D is a stone, is a table, is a wall. If I don't have the five senses, I will have scars and pumpers all over my face, right? Because I will constantly bump into a door, in a wall. I will pump in a person if I don't hear right that the person, whatever. So these five senses are nothing else as animalistic survival tools, right? But have nothing to do with perceiving life itself. That's a very important thing. However, 99.9% of humanity nowadays is perceiving life through the lens of the five senses. That's one to go with, and that's one to sit with.
Cheers.
It's good for today with this one.
I feel so too. Thank you.
Not for that, man. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget that the bear is just an illusion that told you something that you anyway knew on a human on a human mind level.
Yeah, well, still, thank you for reminding. Thanks for being that illusion in my life.
But
I
you are just
appreciate
thinking
that.
you are just thinking yourself because you have brought yourself in a state now that you could all of a sudden see this and hear it. There is nothing between us. Do you understand?
Yeah.
There is nothing between us. So realistically, I cannot exist. You were just using something in the earthly 3D field that was able to penetrate through a layer of yours where this knowing is there, and you all of a sudden saw this knowing. Don't go on this mental construct that you heard a bear speaking with a voice. Because here we are again. This resonates with me and this doesn't resonate with me. And I feel that many of the things, because I feel on a physical level, I feel your heart chakra at the moment is very open, very powerful, very, very open. So it was resonating. It's a very tricky one to go behind that one, you and me. This is the ultimate trick of the Maya illusion. You know, the you and me thing, the you and me game.
Well, I like the you and me game. Brings a lot of joy in my life.
Yeah,
Why,
it brings joy. It brings
why
joy to
were
your.
we living this anyway if it were not for the you and me game? That's the whole point of this existence, right?
But here again, it's the hide and seek game.
Yes,
We
exactly.
hide so long until, and then we seek it until we have found it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. We want to stop recording now,
Sure.
and please